What's up guys, my name is Dychronic, your host here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about this week at Bungie for July 25th, 2019. This week at Bungie basically going to be a blog post about Destiny 2 in the previous week, current week, and the next few weeks about Destiny. And of course, my versions of the TWAB are going to be your audible version, so just sit back, relax, enjoy the fluffy animals that are on screen right now, but for the most part, you can kind of just close your eyes and listen to the things I have to say. In this particular TWAB, there's actually a lot of big information that you're going to want to know about, specifically about the Solstice of Heroes, a lot of information coming out of that. Outside of that, there's going to be things like the new Iron Banner emblem for Lord of the Wolves, Prometheus Lens, a couple of updates that are coming with the update on July 30th, with a couple of big things that you do want to know about, as well as a couple little updates. But for the most part, it's going to be about Solstice of Heroes, and it's a pretty big one. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started with Solstice of Heroes. For the most part, this is kind of just a tiny little excerpt of like, hey, Solstice of Heroes is coming very soon. And if you haven't seen it already, this blog post they released yesterday, which we're going to be following over, gives you a lot more information about that event. So let's go ahead and go over to that blog post and see what kind of things are in store. So first and foremost, this event is from July 30th to August 27th. So basically for 1 month, starting on July 30th, you'll have the Solstice of Heroes to get all of the stuff, the new armors, the new emotes, the new everywhere stuff. There's a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about in this video. On top of that, I do believe the Tribute Hall also ends on August 27th. So if you want to get any of the Year 2 stuff, the last chance you have is going to be around August 27th. And I think like 2 weeks later is going to be Shadowkeep. So you got to do things now if you want it. So let's go and talk about the different things in the event. First of all, the elemental orbs will be returning. Every time you pick up 30 of these orbs that match the daily element, you'll start to get an elemental buff for a brief amount of time. So anytime you get a kill with a solar weapon, you get a solar orb, or I think a chance of solar orb, and that applies to the other ones. And once you get 30 of these orbs of the matching daily element, you'll get an elemental buff. Now, what are these buffs, you might ask? For the solar class, or not for the solar class, but the solar buff, Guardians will emit a burning wave of energy that damages anything around them. For the Void Elemental buff, you get a crouching, will give you invisibility and true sight, plus enhanced ability regeneration. And finally, the Arc buff will give you enhanced speed and deal greater melee and sword damage. Now, don't worry, these effects will not last a very long time after defeating your enemies, and on top of that, these buffs will not be active in competitive or Gambit Prime. That being said, it will be available in Gambit and regular Crucible, so you're going to see a lot of things very similar to the way that Revelry worked, that a lot of people are going to be dependent on these sources to give them kind of crazy buffs, although this one seems a lot more tame than the Revelry. Next up, let's talk about the new activity that they have in the European Aerial Zone. It, for the most part, kind of sounds like the Dark Force from the Halloween event, except for it's going to be in this new area with a bit of a twist to it. So this is going to be a new 3-player matchmade activity launched directly from the tower or the director, and from what it seems is you're on these floating little platforms with little islands on them. Your goal is to defeat as many mini bosses as possible before the time expires, and when it does expire, you'll face off against a final boss. When you defeat the final boss, you go across the EAZ in search of treasure chests. The more mini bosses you defeat, the more treasure that awaits you. This last part kind of seems like the new Benedict Treasure chest kind of quest things, and seem a little bit like much. I don't understand why we have to go seek them out, but that seems the way that happened. Now, what is in these chests, you might ask? They actually contain solar packages, which you can open with solar key fragments, which are, the fragments that is, are earned from doing any activity during the Solstice of Heroes. So everything that you're doing in the game, you're going to start getting these solar Solstice key fragments, then you can use them to open the Solstice packages, and you get a bunch of different things, including rare, legendary gear. You also get enhancement cores and different planetary materials. Now, what is important to note is that these will not contain the Solstice armor pieces until you've earned the entire Solstice armor. Once you have gotten the full legendary Solstice armor, the Solstice packages will reward you with additional armor, and you can hunt for random rolls of that Solstice armor. I think the new random rolls for Solstice armor. That's what it seems like. And once you've collected all 3 sets for all the 3 different classes, you'll be able to award this special Sparrow. It is the SRL default skin from Destiny 2 and whatnot, but it is exclusive. Now, I bet you're asking yourself, how do you upgrade the armor from the Solstice of Heroes? From what it seems like, exactly the same as before. You start with Drained Uncommon, you get to the Renewed Rare state, and then after that you get to the Majestic Legendary set, and then you can get to a Masterwork version of this set. From what it seems like, you do some pretty standard stuff like doing strikes, Crucible, getting kills, whatnot. They didn't say what it is, but last year that's what it was, and it seems like it's going to be a repeat, especially considering it's like the same models, like completely, except for the glowy parts at the very end. Now, something very important to note about this new armor is that it will not be useless. At the end of year 1 in Destiny 2, we got this cool Solstice armor that's glowing and awesome, and then immediately armor, which I will address as armor 1.5, the Forsaken version of armor, with new extra columns, new stat bonuses, and mod slot available, basically made all of the armor obsolete, including this Solstice armor. Now, in Destiny 2's year 2, in the second Solstice, this will not be the case. This armor will actually be the first 2.0 armor. I don't know why they call it armor 2.0, since we already had an armor 2.0, but I guess we're calling that armor 1.5 now. So, this armor is actually going to be the type of armor they're going to be working with in Shadowkeep. So you don't have to worry about this armor piece being obsolete, although all of your previous armor is probably going to be obsolete. Now, there's a couple of very important things to know about this new armor set. From what I remember, and I don't remember a lot, what I remember is you can actually just rip perks off certain armor pieces and customize it into the armor that you want. So if you like the look of one armor piece, but the perk you want is on a different armor piece, you can actually rip that perk out and put it in the new armor piece. And I assume that's only applicable to the new armor 2.0, which is, again, Solstice of Heroes, that includes that. So don't delete your old armor yet. You might be able to rip perks out of them, which kind of makes me feel like I shouldn't be going for the Iron Banner armor this season, because it's just going to become obsolete right around the corner, which is really, really sad. Something that I did want to discuss before I move on is that is a really bad thing, Bungie. I know you want to wipe the slate clean, make new armors that people are excited to go get, but at the same time, you've had this expectation that weapons and armors are trophies of what you have and have not completed. That's the reasoning behind why Destiny and Bungie itself did not want to add trading to the game, because if somebody has a weapon, it means they completed that activity, or that this armor piece or this armor set is basically a show of triumph, a show of trophy. And then they say, hey, every year we're just going to be wiping the slate clean, delete all the old stuff, you get the materials for it, but that just doesn't count. And it kind of feels like they're just writing in a new game every year, and they might as well just have released Destiny 7 by this point, because it's kind of ridiculous. But who knows, maybe it will be useful if you can just rip perks out of the old things, but it will make the other armor pieces that I like the look of just become obsolete. Moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the extras. There's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is, firstly, there will be no event engram this week. Instead, the good news is you can directly purchase it from Eververse for silver and bright dust every single item during this event. Now, that's kind of good and bad. First of all, you can purchase everything with bright dust, meaning there's no exclusives for silver and all this stuff. You don't have to pay real money for the different things, but it's also bad because you can't just get everything you want from playing anymore. It's locked behind purchasing with bright dust, and if you haven't played a lot, you're not going to have a lot of bright dust. On top of that, they're just trying to siphon all of our money before Shadowkeep. That's kind of clear of that's what they're doing. However, either way, you'll be able to purchase all of the different armor glows for your different Solstice armor sets directly from Eververse, again with bright dust or silver, and you can purchase a full set of it so you can make your armor glow. And if you're equipping a solar class with the red stuff, you're going to be able to have a bigger glow than before. So it depends on what kind of subclass you're equipping. Now, there's going to be a bunch of different things throughout this. Now, there's going to be a bunch of different things that are going to be available during the event. The new sparrows, the new ships, the new ghost things. Oh man, the ghost shells. That's adorable. Now, I don't know when the ghost would ever float in the water, but maybe like when you die, he drops to the ground, and if you're in water, he floats. That might be a cute thing. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but there's a lot of cute little things during this event. Kind of just a celebration of the summer and whatnot. New emotes to kind of use in a bunch of different ways. You know, there's a whistle in the throw of the thing. There's the paper thing where you throw it behind you. For the most part, it's going to be what you expect. There's not a lot for it. And the last thing they mentioned is that the additional 2 moments of triumphs will be available during the Solstice of Heroes. So if you're at 22 out of 24 on July 30th, you will be able to get those last 2 and get the MMXIX triumph or seal if you haven't already. Again, this event is from July 30th to August 27th if you haven't already. And that is going to be pretty much it for the Solstice of Heroes section. Again, this will be linked in the description down below. You can also find it right here on the TWAB if you ever lose it. And let's go ahead and move on with the rest of the TWAB. So this first section is actually going to be commemorating the Lord of Wolves in Iron Banner during Season 7. Now, if you haven't seen it already, the Lord of Wolves is pretty dominating with its extra damage bonuses and having tons of ammo with Shotgun Scavenger, that they're basically going to be giving you an emblem if you played Iron Banner during the time periods that it was available with that crazy buff. So if you played Iron Banner at any point during this season, in the first or the second event of Iron Banner, which again, the dates are listed right here in case you want to know, you'll be able to get this this exclusive emblem on July 30th, I believe. You'll just be giving it to everybody. On top of that, if you're available during the Prometheus Lens area with the same kind of thing when it was kind of ridiculously overpowered, you will be able to get this emblem, which is also available for the same kind of things. So moving on, let's go ahead and talk about that update 2.5.2, which is actually going to be the one that I've been talking about with the Lord of Wolves and whatnot. On July 30th, when the Solstice of Heroes does actually release, there's going to be an update. They're going to be changing a bunch of different things. There's probably going to be a bigger patch notes, but these are the big points they wanted to get across. So first of all, Lord of Wolves, you're reducing the amount of ammo that you get from Shotgun Scavenger, so you don't just get a ton of ammo to just spray on the enemies. You're also decreasing the effective range of Lord of Wolves, and this decrease is more aggressive when in the Release the Wolves state. They're kind of balancing it in a good way, in my opinion, but we'll have to wait and see exactly how that works. Next up, for Iron Banners, they're actually going to be changing a couple of different quests. First of all, the quest objective values will be adjusted for future events because people are getting very upset by how long it takes to do certain things. Like the grenade kills requirement will be put basically in half, which is kind of ridiculous, and ally grenades will be worth as much as your own. On top of that, the sword kills requirement reduced by 25%, and the ally sword kills will also be worth as much as your own sword kills. Next up, it changes to the menagerie as well as the chalice. First of all, the heroic menagerie will drop a sword guaranteed the first completion that you do of the heroic menagerie. Second off, the subsequent completions will have a moderate chance to drop a sword of 25%, which I believe it was like around 10 to 20% before. Also, some general things like fixing an issue where completion notifications did not appear after completing bounties, and also there's going to be a fix to where sometimes you just didn't spawn in during a Crucible match, which is really infuriating. I had a competitive match where we won the first 2 rounds. I was dominating. I was on the winning team, and then I just wouldn't spawn in. Moving on to Dr. Bungie, a couple of little update details, a couple of known issues. Again, the blue section here is going to be all about Dr. Bungie and updates and whatnot. So again, like we were saying before, update 2.5.2 that's coming up on July 30th, we'll have a couple of different updates. The biggest important thing is from 9:45 to 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time will be the offline services. So only for 15 minutes will your services be offline. And then lastly, the Solstice of Heroes will start at 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Also, if you're having trouble downloading the update, which sometimes happens for PlayStation and Xbox people, they have a couple of workarounds for you if you wanted to see them. Basically, just giving you a bunch of different recommendations like update statuses, hard drive requirements, interrupting update downloads, stuff like that. They have basically just a resource here in case you're having trouble. But for the most part, if you're having trouble, just unplug your console, wait 5 minutes, plug it back in, and that will usually fix it. In my opinion, that's what's helped for me. They also wanted to mention a couple of vital information. First of all, the Emperor's Gladiator Tramp, which is getting Valor in the Crucible playlist while using different pieces of Leviathan gear for the armor and the weapons. They wanted to mention that the bonus Valor that we're getting this week does not actually give you bonus points towards this quest. I erroneously said in my previous reset video that you'd be getting a bigger bonus with the bigger Valor bonus, but that's just not true. You're just getting a normal rate. But right now, more people are playing anyways. You're gonna find easier games either way. And the last season of the Opulence known issues, an issue with somebody going literally almost invisible in Crucible, where they basically don't load in, and an issue where this strike just continues to get stuck loading. Hopefully they'll be able to fix both of these with the next patch. And that is pretty much it. That is the end of the video. Movies of the week down here in case you're interested in any one of them, as well as a kind of well, let's just say there was somebody here who got tattoos of different things, and well, actually, I saw this on Twitter, and I just thought it was really funny, and I wanted to show it. So if you did not know, there was a big, there was a big donation for a specific event, Guardian Con Charity, that was it, the Guardian Con Charity, and there was one incentive where I think DMG04 was supposed to get a tattoo, and he got both the Unbroken and the I Made It For You. And I gotta say, this is hilarious. I love this. If you can actually get this medal in Crucible, if you get 50 kills, not just assists, but 50 kills without dying, you get this from Shax. You have a fun little voice line. I've actually heard the voice line. You can see it on YouTube. And it's really funny that it actually did get a tattoo. But that's it. That is the end of the video. Apologize for being so long, but there was a lot of great information out there. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed something. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. And if you see any comments that you can answer, help me out with those questions. But that's it. Hope you guys did enjoy. My name has been Dychronic, and I will see you guys on the next one.